And you replied, the current law and sentencing are the same as before, but the processing speed will be much faster. Once confirmed, it will be executed immediately, saving a lot of procedures. In addition, the serving area will be located in the violent area with a life flow rate of 100 times, and it is forbidden to enter the godforsaken game during the serving period. In fact, Hein Feng knew all this. After all, he had experienced it in his previous life, but he still found that there was no difference from the previous life. Okay. You just handle it strictly according to the law? After Qin Feng said this, he did not participate in the discussion of this matter. As long as it is handled according to the law, Qin Xiaoyu is already hopeless this time. If she is arrested by the authorities and sent to the violent area to serve her sentence, how long can she live? One day will consume 100 days of life. With her current conditions, as long as she is convicted and starts serving her sentence, she may not even last a day. After all, and you just said it, when Qin Xiaoyu was killed by the boss, the life light ball that exploded was only 4 days. In other words, she only has 7 or 8 days to live, which is given to her by the Knights Templar according to the membership contract. Soon, she will be deprived of the guild. Then the membership contract will also be invalid. No one will guarantee her survival. When An Yu heard the word strict from Qin Feng's mouth, she understood what Qin Feng meant. Okay, I know. Then regarding the situation of the Nine Realm Stone Supervisor, we Zhenghai City officials will later issue you a Zhenghai Guardian Medal, plus a bonus of 1,000 years of life. Again, Qin Feng covered his face. I think you should just give me a Blue Star Guardian Medal. And you pursed his lips and chuckled, blinking. That won't work. Some places are not worthy of your protection. Hearing this, everyone smiled knowingly. Even Ocilio got involved, laughing. The Sakura country next door said, you might as well sign me up. Lin Liu, wearing a star blue robe and a staff behind him, ran to it, patted its paws, and opened his eyes wide. Oreo, even you know that we don't get along with the Sakura country. That's right. Ocilio laughed. Otherwise, when we were in Dongdu, the boss would let that snake girl kill so many people. Who is your snake girl? Snake girl Samiya glanced at it coldly. Don't argue. I'm definitely older than you. Ocilio glanced at her. I told you to call me Brother Long. You'll make a lot of money. Samiya was too lazy to argue with it. Just sneered and looked away. Han Feng saw it and laughed in his heart. It seems that the snake girl Samiya knows very well that you can't argue with it when dealing with a nitpicker. The best way to deal with it is to ignore it, and it will naturally not make a fuss alone. Osiris chuckled and suddenly looked at the beautiful female mage Lin Liu in front of him. By the way, what did you call me just now? Oreo. There's a word missing. Does it have any special meaning? Lin Liu? Oh, this is a sandwich. Osiris suddenly became alert. You don't want to make me into a cookie. Don't come to me. Go to your shadow boss. He wants to become a sandwich. You go to sandwich him. Qin Feng was speechless and raised his hand to put Osiris into the bell of the mount. This guy is really lawless. Min Feng sighed. Wang Meng, the young sharp-eyed shooter, and the card uncle couldn't help laughing. Qin Feng glanced at them. Wang Meng immediately stopped laughing and said seriously, Boss, I don't want to laugh. We have received professional training. No matter how funny it is, we won't laugh unless we can't help it. Get out. Qin Feng's face turned black. Soon, Qin Feng called the ghost, rode the snake girl Samiya, and teleported back to the Evil Spirit Academy in the ruins of the Demon City. Next, Qin Feng planned to return to the Sakura country, the ruins of the eastern capital, and go outside to find the Death Goddess's Faith Temple. On the way, Qin Feng checked the spoil. Since he had killed 2 epic bosses in a row, Han Feng's evolution points reached more than 8,000 points, so he consumed 5,000 points and evolved the N mark from the mythical level to the ancient level. N mark mythical level, ancient level. After marking the target, all attacks launched against the target will gain combo points, plus 5 to 7. N mark lasts 30-60 seconds, with a cooldown of 74 seconds. Required level, 21. Legendary effect. The marked target's defense and elemental resistance are reduced by 50%, 70%. Mythical effect. The marked target's damage from finishing moves is increased by 20% to 30%. Far new ancient effect. Gain passive effect. Your combo limit 100-300, and the combo points will not decrease over time. The legendary effect of this skill can reduce the target's defense and elemental resistance. But in fact, Qin Feng has Gift of Liberation, and the ancient effect of this skill is to let Qin Feng get 100% armor penetration and 100% ignore elemental resistance, so it is redundant. As for the mythical effect, it has changed from 20% independent damage increase to 30% independent damage increase, making Qin Feng's damage higher. The last added ancient effect is the real highlight. It's a skill that has evolved to the ancient level. The combo limit has become 300 points, and it won't decrease over time. Doesn't that mean that I can start with a burst without stacking combos first? Now, Qin Feng's burst basically marks the target with a final mark first, then releases the Gift of Liberation and the Shadow of Killing. Uses 1000 Blades Breaking to stack the combo to 100 points, and finally consumes 100 combos and uses Instant Destruction to burst out all the damage. After using Instant Destruction, Qin Feng's combo points are gone, and he can't even release Endless Nightmare or something like that. But now, after obtaining this ancient passive effect, Yinfeng can walk outside and activate Endless Nightmare. Instant destruction and other finishing skills anytime and anywhere. Direct finishing skills become ordinary skills. You know, final skills have no cooling time. As long as the combo number is enough, you can keep releasing it. Too convenient. Yinfeng was quite emotional. Of course, among the spoils that the Nine Realms Stone Supervisor gave Qinfeng this time, there was a legendary assassin wristband and a very good epic skill book, Shadowfold. Although it was only epic, not legendary, Xinfeng still planned to put it into practice, because this was a very powerful displacement skill that could go through walls and even be invincible during the process of traveling. So, what would be the effect after evolving it? While Qinfeng was tasting equipment and learning skills, Qin Xiaoyu, who had been arrested and taken away by the authorities, was sent to an interrogation room while living a miserable life. Originally, Qin Xiaoyu was still very confident. She felt that as long as she apologized to Qinfeng, everything would be fine. But as time went on, she felt more and more that something was wrong. Fear finally spread from the bottom of her heart. She was trembling faintly in the interrogation room. Qin Xiaoyu, who lost both legs, leaned on the chair, looking a little nervous, with a little uneasiness in the depths of his eyes. After a while, the door opened. An Yu and Wang Meng entered the interrogation room together. After handing over to the guards outside, An Yu and Wang Meng entered the room and sat down at the table. As soon as she saw An Yu, Qin Xiaoyu lowered her head, because she thought of being slapped by this woman before. Although it was in the game, it also left a deep impression on her. You know, no one has ever hit her like this since she was a child. After entering the room, An Yu remained indifferent, and her beautiful eyes did not even look at Qin Xiaoyu, but checked the stack of information in her hand. Wang Meng glanced at Qin Xiaoyu's empty trouser legs and said in a deep voice, Qin Xiaoyu, female, 18 years old. Codename in the godforsaken game is Zhao Yuya. Hidden occupation life sacrifice. Currently level 10. Do you admit the fact that you activated the epic boss, Nine Realms Stone Governor Hartman, in the ruins of Zhanghai City today? Hearing this, Qin Xiaoyu did not react for a long time. Soon she gritted her teeth and shook her head. I don't admit it. Although I did this. Shadow asked me to do it, including the method of activating the boss, which was also told to me by Shadow. Otherwise, how would I know that it was an epic boss? How would I know how to activate it? Wang Meng's expression did not change, and he continued to ask, since you said so, how did Shadow notify you to do it? Do you have chat records to testify? If so, we can return the communication crystal ring to you and let you show evidence. Qin Xiaoyu lowered his head and shook his head. There is no evidence. He told me at the door of his hiding place, when he returned to his hiding place. If there is no evidence, then what you said is nonsense, Wang Meng said calmly. I'll ask you again. Why do you want to activate the boss? And how did you know the boss activation condition? Qin Xiaoyu was very stubborn. It was Shadow who told me. He told me that as long as I did this, he would forgive me and continue to be my brother. You can definitely find out Shadow's identity. He is my brother, Qinfeng. And you turned the information in his hand to a certain page, nodded, and said coldly, before the godforsaken game came, you had a brother named Qinfeng. He was adopted by your parents. After your parents died, he took care of you and grew up. We asked your friend, and she said that after the godforsaken game came, you took the initiative to break off relations with your brother Qinfeng, and you finished talking about these materials. Wang Meng thought about it, looked at Qin Xiaoyu and asked, although this has nothing to do with the crime you committed, I still want to ask, why are you so sure that your brother is Shadow? It's not to give Qin Xiaoyu a chance, but it's about Shadow. So they have to be cautious. Even if someone wants to discredit the Dark Shadow, they will find the source and put it out. When Qin Xiaoyu heard this, she immediately had hope and said, because I secretly investigated what Shadow did after the advent of the godforsaken game. He killed many people, and many of them were related to my brother Qinfeng. First of all, it was Song Fei, because I am a fan of Song Fei. And the quarrel with Qinfeng was also because I went to see Song Fei's concert and Song Fei was soon killed by Shadow. Then there was Qian Shishi. Qian Shishi is the spade ace in your official mouth. She is the boss of Qinfeng's company. She was also killed by Shadow. And his company's manager Hu Qibin. I learned that he was also killed suddenly and never appeared again. It is very consistent with Shadow's ability. That is, to capture people and imprison them after killing them. Although I don't know where he is imprisoned. But so far only Shadow has this ability. One person may be a coincidence, but Shadow killed so many people, all of whom are related to Qinfeng. Can it prove that Shadow is Qinfeng? Qin Xiaoyu was very excited as she spoke. She felt that what she learned was the truth. In fact, it is true. But, and you glanced at her and shook her head coldly. It really can't be proved. After saying this, she ignored Qin Xiaoyu's astonishment and exchanged a few words with Wang Meng in private. Wang Meng. It seems that there is still a possibility that Shadow is Qinfeng. And you. Indeed. We also asked the president of the Dragon Roar, Awu, and she also said that there is a girl named Yang Xiaoya in their guild who was saved by Shadow 3 times. She is also in the same company as Qinfeng, however. For us, Shadow is Shadow. Even if his real identity is Qinfeng, it will not have any impact. It's just that this Qin Xiaoyu Wang Meng seemed a little hesitant. What if she is really Shadow's sister? I have confirmed with Shadow repeatedly. Shadow doesn't care about her. And you said calmly, just follow the rules. Wang Meng took a breath. Really? If this is done wrong, there will be no room for redemption. Besides, why doesn't he even care about his own sister? And you smiled. What do you know? In short, let's first determine Qin Xiaoyu's crime, and I will handle the rest soon. They continued to interrogate Qin Xiaoyu. No matter how Qin Xiaoyu argued, her behavior of activating the epic boss was seen by many people. Since there was no plot of being coerced or deceived, she would be sentenced according to active intention. And her attitude of confessing guilt was not good, so the punishment would naturally be top level, and it would take effect immediately after the advent of the godforsaken game and even the spread of desolation. All such judgments were kept simple, and they were executed immediately as long as the evidence was conclusive. Of course, the final result of Qin Xiaoyu's side is still uncertain. We have to wait 2 days for the final result. It depends on how many people will die and how much damage will be caused in the end. After the charges are confirmed, Wang Meng left first, and Yu was left alone, facing the somewhat distraught Qin Xiaoyu. And you keep saying that Shadow is your brother, but have you ever thought that if he is really your brother, why doesn't he care about you? Qin Xiaoyu was stunned. Because I broke off relations with him, I want to apologize to him, but I don't have the chance. On you! If he doesn't even give you a chance, it means that he is completely disappointed in you, and you can give up. Wang Meng may not see anything, but Anyu keenly noticed that Qin Xiaoyu was a little weird. In order to avoid affecting Shadow, Anyu wanted to ask the situation as clearly as possible. So, hearing Anyu's words, Qin Xiaoyu was a little excited. How can he be so stingy, please? Tell my brother for me. Tell him that I know I was wrong. Okay. Although Anyu slapped her in the face, which made her bear a grudge, but now Anyu is her only lifeline. Anyu glanced at her indifferently. What's wrong? Is it wrong to go to see Seinfeld's concert? Hearing Anyu ask this, Qin Xiaoyu was silent for a moment. Obviously, if this is the only reason, even a fool would know that something is wrong. Anyu held his chin with one hand, turned the pen with the other hand, and looked at her calmly. To tell you the truth, we will not continue to investigate the real identity of Shadow. And no matter what the relationship between you and Shadow is, if you are convicted, you will be sentenced according to the law. Your only chance is to tell everything. For Shadow's sake, I will convey it to you as appropriate. As for whether he forgives you, it may depend on how sincere your apology is. In fact, Anyu has a lot of thoughts in her heart now. She had long guessed that Shadow was a reborn. Now that Qin Xiaoyu appeared with such a complicated situation, it is very likely that the situation is really the same as she guessed, although I don't know the specific situation. However, could it be that the great god was cheated by Qin Xiaoyu before he was reborn? Or even because he was cheated to death by her and reborn, and then he just ignored her after rebirth. After all, she is the biological daughter of her adoptive parents, and it is not good to kill her. If that's the case, the great god is already very affectionate and righteous, and Yu has always had a rich imagination. However, she didn't know whether the Qin Xiaoyu in front of her knew more. She just asked casually if she could learn more. It would be an unexpected gain, although it may not be useful. But when it comes to the matter of Shadow, all unexpected situations must be eliminated, regardless of the true situation. If Qin Xiaoyu knows something, then Anyu can also get the words out and remind Shadow. If she knows too much, maybe she should be given in advance. Anyu seemed calm, but in fact she was already thinking about whether to deal with Qin Xiaoyu privately. After hesitating for a while, Qin Xiaoyu finally spoke cautiously. I wanted to dig out his eyes, but I didn't really want to do that. Please help me convey that I apologize to him. As long as he is willing to forgive me, I am willing to do anything. When these words came out, Anyu was a little stunned. Hiss so explosive. Want to dig out my brother's eyes? What kind of fairy operation is this? Anyu was a little surprised. She heard that Qin Xiaoyu didn't seem to be joking. No wonder the great god is so heartless. This woman is really against the sky. Of course, it is not necessarily that the great god is really Qin Feng. Anyu shook her head and didn't think much about it. It didn't matter whether the Shadow was Qin Feng. At this point, the communication between the two sides ended. Since Qin Xiaoyu didn't seem to know much, Anyu didn't need to waste time on her. From Qin Xiaoyu's perspective, of course she would not reveal the memories in her mind. And she knew that once Qin Feng's rebirth was exposed, it would probably make Qin Feng hate her even more, as long as she helps me convey that I am willing to apologize. Qin Feng will definitely forgive me, right? Wait for Qin Feng to take me off? I'll kill you all. So, Qin Xiaoyu entered a long wait. She thought she was waiting for Anyu to bring her Qin Feng's reply, but in fact, she was waiting for death. Because soon Anyu told Qin Feng about the situation here in private. Anyu, master, she wants to apologize to you, saying that she regrets wanting to dig out your eyes or something. The girl's private chat came over. Qin Feng took a look and replied directly. What is this? I really don't know her. He was a little speechless. Apologize. Regret digging his eyes. Some things are not just regretful and apologize. Since the relationship has been severed, then live your own life. Qin Feng did not intend to kill her personally, but she should never get involved. Soon, Qin Feng learned from Anyu that Qin Xiaoyu's specific sentencing would take 2 days, but the charges had been confirmed, and it would start at least 10 years. And it was even possible that she would be sentenced to death. At present, she has been escorted to a violent area prison in Zhanghai City. Next, just wait for her to die? Qin Feng was not worried about any strange accidents. After all, Qin Xiaoyu is now actually monitored by the power of trial. Other ancient gods, evil demons, and other forces cannot get close to her, let alone affect her. Without external forces, Qin Xiaoyu will never be able to escape from prison. Her ending, only waiting to die. As for what kind of psychological process she will have in this process, this is related to my shadow, what does it matter? Qinfeng didn't think much about Qin Xiaoyu, but focused on the spoils from the 9 Realms Stone Lord Hartman in front of him. Take a look at the skill book first. There are more than 3,000 evolution points left, evolved directly to the ancient level 3 times. Qinfeng learned the epic skill Shadowfold, and then evolved. You have consumed 10 plus 200 plus 3,000 evolution points, and there are 598 points left. Then, Shadowfold Epic Legend Myth Ancient. Escape into the shadow and flash to any position within 30, 60, 90, 150 meters. During the fold, you will be invincible and not affected by the upper affixes. Cooldown 10-1, 62 seconds. New effect of legendary level. After flashing, the basic attack power increases by 100%, lasts for 5 seconds, and cannot be stacked. New effect of mythical level. After flashing, physical defense. Elemental element resistance increased by 100%, lasts for 8 seconds, cannot be stacked. Ancient level new effect. After flashing, the upper affix is increased by 100%, lasts for 3 seconds, cannot be stacked. Huangfeng looked at the evolution effect of this skill. When it finally evolved to the ancient level, his eyes lit up. The legendary and mythical effects are to increase attack and defense after the warp, respectively. According to the cooldown and duration, this attack and defense increase gain can basically stay, and the new effect of the ancient level is fierce. It can increase the upper affix by 100%. For me now, there is the normal stripping affix. Now facing an epic boss like the 9 Realms Stone Governor, as long as the 1,000 blades break after the Shadow Warp is used once, it can be completely stripped, without the need for 2 times. In addition, there is also the Nightmare affix after the Endless Nightmare is opened. Originally, Qinfeng wanted to put the epic boss into Nightmare state, but he couldn't do it after one set of combos, and had to wait for a few seconds for the next set. But now, it can send the boss into Nightmare directly. Moreover, Huangfeng tested it on the spot. The inviolable affix is also one of the upper affixes. Can this be doubled? Xinfeng first released a Shadowfold and appeared dozens of meters away in a flash. Then he looked at his inviolable affix. It was found that it was doubled. From 97, 7 to 195. 4. It feels good. There is also a legendary assassin wristband here, and the attributes are not bad. Huangfeng took out the wristband from the greedy space and looked at the attributes. Hartman's deflection, gauntlets legendary. Assassin's hand armor. Physical defense, plus 485. All element resistance, plus 477. Hit modifier, plus 21%. Required level 29. Hit. Special. Inviolability, plus 39. 7. Unique special effect. Deflection. When you take damage, all damage is transferred evenly to your pet mount. Damage will be calculated based on your defense damage reduction, not the defense and damage reduction of the mount pit. Note, only pets mounts within 3 kilometers of you will be transferred damage. Good stuff. Huangfeng nodded with satisfaction. Then he showed the properties of the gloves to Osiris, Grey Chicken, and of course, the snake girl, Samia. Samia took a look. Her purple eyes were still cold, and it was obvious that she didn't take it to heart. In her opinion, Qinfeng was strong enough anyway. There are very few people or bosses who can hurt Qinfeng. Even if she is hurt, or even killed by the transferred damage, she can be resurrected as a mount. This is her confidence now. However, after seeing this, Osiris and Grey Chicken wailed. Osiris beat his chest and stamped his feet. What a sin. We helped the boss deal with the boss monsters, but ended up handing the boss a knife to kill us. Grey Chicken was even more frightened. Well, I won't be there in the future fights. I will just go back to the pet space. That's what he said. But if they really fight, the decision of whether they will fight is still in Qinfeng's hands. Anyway, they can be resurrected. And at the critical moment, this Hartman's deflected gauntlet may come in handy. Put it on directly. When Qinfeng put on this wrist guard, his inviolability affix was increased from the original 97, 7 to 122, 4. After Shadow Warp, it doubled to 244, 8 points. At this stage, even a team of 60 people with top-level equipment cannot destroy his inviolability affix in one wave. Not only that, Xinfeng also increased the hit correction by about 100%. Unfortunately, the 24% reduction in elemental damage received effect on the original soul-absorbing wristband is gone. Of course, now that Qinfeng's elemental resistance has reached more than 20%, this effect is dispensable. In addition, Huangfeng selected 10 assassin skillbooks from the epic skillbook and combined them into 10 in one. You have obtained Poison Drinking Body Legendary Assassin Skillbook. Poison Drinking Body? Qinfeng was a little confused. He had never heard of this skill in his previous life. He immediately checked Poison Drinking Body Legendary Assassin Passive Skill. After learning, gain 80% additional poison element damage reduction. Required level 28. The skill description is very simple. It is 80% additional poison element damage reduction. I already have more than 95% resistance to all elements. With this 80%, wouldn't the resistance to poison damage reach 99%? This is still unevolved. If Qinfeng evolves it to the mythical level, or even the ancient level, I'm afraid it will be immune to poison element damage, a body that is immune to all poisons. Qinfeng didn't know whether to laugh or cry, although this skill is not very useful at ordinary time. It may be useful at certain times. Anyway, it's a passive skill, so if you learn it, you don't have to use the Soul Devourer bloodline to devour it. It's a pity that I don't have evolution points now. I really hope there will be enough boss to give me evolution points. Qinfeng sighed. For him, the equipment and skill books given by the boss are still relatively secondary. Evolution points are the most important. But now he is level 30. Whether it is the official Sky Dome Guild or Night Temple Guild, the boss level found outside is basically below level 25, even the Emerald level, for Qinfeng. The benefits of experience and evolution points have seriously declined, and he is a little too lazy to fight. It seems that evolution points still need to be accumulated over time. Qinfeng is very anxious. He has many skills that he wants to evolve now, but he doesn't have enough points. The cooling of the Abyss face has ended, and he can touch it again. But there are no evolution points for the Abyss skills. There are even some skills that now require tens of thousands of evolution points to evolve. It can evolve from the ancient level to the immortal level. Qinfeng feels that the skills that can evolve to the immortal level will definitely be extremely terrifying. And what he lacks is just the evolution points. I don't know if the legendary boss... Every time I kill one, how many evolution points can it give? The benefits of the epic boss are already about 4,000 evolution points. The legendary boss gives more than 10,000 evolution points, which is reasonable, right? Mindfeng took the ghost back to the Evil Spirit Academy. The two of them went offline to eat something, and after going online again, the little loli said goodbye to Qinfeng and went out to kill monsters and level up. Although she cherished the time with Qinfeng, but she knew what was more important. Qinfeng went to the room of the rogue fairy Yuan first, as usual. He left after 5 minutes, feeling refreshed, and his lightning resistance was up again. It's time to find the Temple of Faith of the Goddess of Death. Qinfeng did not delay and set off immediately. Since the desolation is spreading now, the sun and the moon have disappeared, so no one cares whether it is day or night now. In fact, after the advent of the godforsaken game, players do not need to sleep. It's just that the required sleep time has been greatly reduced. The reason lies in the improvement of the spirit attribute. Originally, players with 10 points of spirit need to sleep 6 to 8 hours a day. If you have 100 points of spirit, you only need to sleep 1/10 of the time, which is 36-48 minutes. Now the top players basically have 200 or 300 points of spirit, so sleeping for more than 10 minutes a day is enough. As for Qinfeng, he only needs to take a nap every day, and the sleep time can be ignored. So, when Qinfeng teleported back to Sakura Country and the ruins of Dongdu, he found that there were more people. The people of the Key Guild were also busy, but Qinfeng hid nearby and listened to the news for a while, and found that they had no news or movement about NPCs. Let's go and find the temple. Qinfeng rode Osiris, flew up to the sky quickly, and began to search around the ruins of Dongdu. Qinfeng had a good view, because he was looking down from the sky. But the ruins of Dongdu were too big. Even in the sky, Qinfeng could not see the end of the ruins at a glance. He could only search slowly in one direction. After more than 3 hours, Qinfeng came to a place about 300 kilometers north of the ruins of Dongdu, and finally felt that a dark fog representing death lingered in an area for a long time. Found it. Qinfeng asked Osiris to fly over and saw from afar that in the dark death fog, there was a magnificent and towering temple, looming in the black fog. And around the black fog area, there were many players from the Sakura country who were discussing the black fog and the temple in front of them. It seemed that they were looking forward to encountering adventures in it and getting some benefits. Qinfeng took a look and was happy. Isn't this the team of the Yamato Tenjin Guild? Qinfeng had killed 60 people in the real Dongdu before. But everyone in this guild had a white cloth of the national flag wrapped around their foreheads, and it was obvious that they all had some special elements. It's really a narrow road for enemies. Kill them first, and then enter the temple. Qinfeng jumped off Osirio's back, Shadowfold. At the edge of the black fog, an invisible figure arrived in an instant. Mask of the Undying. Assassination Hook. Special effects were activated one after another. Endless Nightmare. Invisible nightmare energy surrounded Qinfeng. When he flashed to the middle of the team of 60 people, he directly released the Night Ring Blade. Invisible blade light slashed through everyone, with the doubling effect of the upper affixes brought by Shadowfold in just a moment. The 60 people of the Yamato God team fell into a nightmare state at the same time as they died. First of all, Qin Xiaoyu is dead. There will be no reversal, so don't worry. Everything happened silently. The 60 players of the Yamato God Guild were just discussing going into the foggy temple area to explore and see if there were any adventures. In the blink of an eye, all of them died without a single one left. Scarlet flowers of death bloomed on their bodies. All their tradable lifespans were absorbed. Hey, that's a lot of lifespans. Qinfeng was a little surprised and smiled slightly. Although all guilds now have life carriers who are responsible for preserving lifespans, in fact, there are still many players who carry a lot of lifespans with them. After all, it's not official, so it involves a trust issue. As for the recently emerging bank type of institutions, although the interest rate is very high, but to be honest, the high interest rate is purely because the player's mortality rate is high, especially in Sakura country. Once the player dies, even if the relatives of the deceased can take back the lifespan deposited in the bank, they can only take back part of it. The other part was regarded as inheritance tax and paid. Wouldn't the interest be high? So the players in Sakura country either put their lifespans in the elderly at home or keep their lifespans for themselves. The proportion of those who keep their lifespans in guilds or banks is not high. So this means that Qin Feng has gained 425 years of lifespan in this wave. On average, each of these 60 players has more than 7 years of lifespan. After all, the mortality rate of those who come out to level up is not too high, so it is normal to have more lifespans. Otherwise, they can't stand the loss of lifespans when leveling up in the violent area. It is precisely because they have a lot of lifespans that they hesitate at the edge of the Black Fog. They were planning to let the summoners summon creatures enter the Black Fog to see the situation. As a result, they were suddenly killed by Qin Feng. After resurrecting at the resurrection point of Yamato Tenjin, more than 40 people who were in a nightmare state howled wildly, ran around everywhere, and created chaos. More than 10 of them were even sucked to death on the spot, which shows that they no longer have untradeable lifespans, and died suddenly. In the guild information channel, these people died from unknown existence. No one knows what they encountered, even before the clown. Other places had also died from unknown existence. Therefore, no one would suspect Shadow at all. What's more, the entire Sakura country is now facing a great enemy, and the official attention is completely attracted by the movements of the Northern Dynasty. According to reliable information, the Northern Dynasty seems to want to attack. Originally, the Sakura country had a big boss behind it, but now the big boss is busy with his own affairs. So how can he care about him? In the chaos, Qin Feng killed these dozens of people, but it didn't cause much impact at all, and even the news didn't spread much. In the entire ruins of Dongdu, not many people paid attention to them, and Qin Feng stood in front of the Black Fog covering the Temple of Death, observed for a moment, and then rode Osirio and flew into the Black Fog. The name of the goddess of death seems to be translated into Daxia language as Yelian. This temple of faith has such harsh conditions for its appearance, there should be something special. With this mentality, Qin Feng quickly flew to the place where the temple was located. As expected, after entering the range of this Black Fog, the instant death affix scale above Qin Feng and Osirio's heads really began to stack up rapidly, and the closer to the temple, the faster the stacking speed. Before entering, Qin Feng had already adjusted his instant death resistance to 2,000 points. Counting the blessing skill of the Lightning Fairy, it provides 75% of the slowdown of the upper gauge stacking speed. It is enough for Qin Feng to take a bath in this Black Fog. After all, he can reduce 10% of the upper gauge every second, which is in a very safe state. As for Osirios, he is more anxious. Although he can be resurrected after death, he naturally does not want to die. Fly quickly to the death temple that looks very ancient. But Qin Feng and it soon discovered that the temple looked very close. But in fact, it is very far away. The space in this Black Fog should have been modified. It looks like only a few kilometers. Is it actually hundreds of kilometers? But no matter what, Osirio's instant death resistance is also several thousand, so it is not that dangerous. Finally, when the instant death gauge on Osirios' head was stacked to 56%, he finally arrived at the temple. It can be seen that the conditions for entering this Temple of Death are very high. At least it is not something that players at this stage can do, or stack up the resistance to instant death. But for other players, it is more realistic to speed up. You can reach the entrance of the temple faster, and you can also pass through this Black Fog area. No wonder there was no news in the last life, because no one can enter at this stage. When Qin Feng came to the entrance of the temple, even the huge Osirios looked like a tiny dot, not at all noticeable. Qin Feng raised his head and looked at the temple. He felt like he was looking at a mountain. There were many mysterious patterns carved on the dead black outer wall. These patterns have no meaning in the eyes of ordinary people, but Qin Feng saw at a glance that these patterns are three-dimensional, and they are obviously ancient gods. However, these are likely to be true words, so they are very complicated, and Qin Feng doesn't know what these true words mean. In short, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that Qin Feng came to the door of the Temple of Faith of the Goddess of Death, and the gate that was more than 100 meters high and more than 80 meters wide opened slowly in front of him. In front of this gate, even Osiris only occupied a quarter of the width. Qin Feng was as small as an ant. You go back first? Qin Feng took back Osiris's Mount Bell. Once you enter the temple, mounts and pets are not allowed to be used. This is the normal rule of the godforsaken game. When the gate of the temple opened, Qin Feng found that the black fog shrouding the outside gradually dissipated. But at the same time, his location seemed to no longer be outside the ruins of the east capital of the Sakura country. Instead, he came to a unique space. Qin Feng raised his foot and walked into the temple. In the dark and empty corridor, his footsteps were heard far away, and no echo was heard. Rumble! When he entered the temple, a low voice came, and the giant stone door behind him slowly closed. The dim light behind Qin Feng also finally disappeared, leaving him in darkness. Qin Feng subconsciously wanted to be invisible, but found that he could not release any skills in this place, nor could he obtain any status. He could not even use divinity to break through the restrictions. It means that this place is a place limited by rules. It is worthy of being a special temple of faith. Qin Feng knew that even if he kept invisible, the invisible state would be forcibly eliminated. This is the power of rules. No matter how many levels of invisibility, it is useless here. This also made Qin Feng relax. There would be such a rule in this place, which means there would be no danger. Sure enough, when Qin Feng walked about 200 meters in the empty darkness, there was a cough of an old man, and then a gray sun suddenly appeared above Qin Feng's head. A gray-haired old woman appeared silently on the right side of Qin Feng. In front of Qin Feng, there appeared a giant gray tree. The trunk of the tree was more than 10 meters thick, and rows of symbols were densely engraved on the trunk. Qin Feng became alert reflexively. The gray sun in the sky, the gray giant tree in front of him, all of them exuded the breath of death. Even the white-haired old woman next to him was full of death. Qin Feng glanced at the gray sun and the giant tree and ignored them for the time being. From his main perspective, he was naturally most concerned about the white-haired old woman who was alive next to him. There was no mark on this person's head, and no one knew what his identity was. Although it was unknown whether this person was really still alive, no matter what, this was the only one who seemed to be able to move in the field. Qin Feng had to get an answer from this person for what he wanted to do in this temple. In order to ensure safety, the ancient language cannot be used in this link. It would be safer to participate as an ordinary player. Qin Feng knew this very well, so he looked at the white-haired old woman and asked directly in Daxia Mandarin, "Where is this? Who are you?" "This is the temple of Lord Yelian. I am the temple steward." The white-haired old woman answered in very standard Daxia language. Her voice was old and dead. Her eyes were pure black, and she looked very scary. "Excuse me, Shadow, the player from the Blue Star Civilization. Are you willing to believe in Lord Yelian? That is, the goddess of death?" "No," Qin Feng answered directly. "It sounds like a threat. But if you can't choose no, the other party's question is meaningless. Obviously, nothing will happen even if you refused. If this place is still in the God-forsaken game, then there is no need to worry about the consequences of refusing if it is outside the game." Then Qin Feng also has Ashasis behind him. Obviously, Ashasis' level is much higher than the white-haired old woman in front of him, as expected. Hearing Qin Feng's refusal, the white-haired old woman was a little surprised. What was surprising was not being rejected, but that Qin Feng could refuse so decisively. But she didn't have any special expression. Then she said, "Do you want to participate in the challenge set by Lord Yelian? The higher the challenge ranking, the more rewards you will get, and the higher the quality of the rewards." This rhetoric is very tempting. But for Qin Feng, it is not difficult for him. He habitually asked, "What are the challenge rules and the punishment for failure?" This kind of activities in the temple. The most important thing is not the reward, but the punishment for failure. Qin Feng had heard in his previous life that someone who entered the temple and never came out was said to be punished to be an NPC in another world. The white-haired old woman looked at Qin Feng deeply with her pure black eyes. "The rule is that the Death God tree in front of you will continue to produce Death Country monsters, all of which are diamond-level bosses. Every time you kill one, the next one will be produced. Death Country monsters will not give experience points and loot rewards. Every time you kill one, the next one will become stronger. Within the limited 20 minutes, the more you kill, the more points you get, and the higher your ranking. But if you are killed by a Death Country monster during the process, you will be forced to become a believer of Lord Yelian." Hearing these words, Qin Feng was a little speechless. "Forced to become a believer of the goddess of death?" Qin Feng asked. "What will happen if you become her believer?" The white-haired old woman laughed dryly. "You will die, but you can retain your consciousness and continue to exist in a dead state, and you are not limited by your lifespan. Except for not being able to reproduce. It is no different from being alive, which is equivalent to a certain degree of immortality. Good guy." After hearing this, Qin Feng felt that this punishment was really outrageous. Once failed, the price would be too high. However, perhaps for some people, this is a kind of reward. For example, Qin Xiaoyou. If it were her, she might hope to become like this. Of course, the goddess of death does not want all believers. At least you have to be able to come to this temple of death to be qualified to become a believer of the goddess of death. Otherwise, you don't even have the qualifications. And Qin Feng certainly had no interest in this. He thought about it and asked again, "Okay, what about the reward?" The white-haired old woman did not answer immediately. She raised her dry arm and pointed at the trunk of the gray giant tree. "These 100 people are the challenge rankings achieved by all the players who have come to this temple in the past 100 years. The higher your challenge ranking, the higher the final reward. Look at the one ranked first. It's a player from the Blue Civilization. In 20 minutes, she killed 17 Dead Country monsters in a row. She is an assassin like you, and she is a woman. In the end, she won a reward of 3 choices. She can choose 3 sublimation scrolls, or a high-level divine weapon, or a Deathwing Royal Family Feather. Deathwing Royal Feather." Qin Feng was immediately interested when he heard this. Originally, his purpose was to find the Deathwing Feather and summon the Deathwing Angel to obtain the epic second bloodline. But this Deathwing Royal Feather seemed to be better than he imagined. Big Eyes originally said that there is a chance of getting a Deathwing feather when entering the Temple of Faith. Now it seems this probability is completely related to strength. As long as you are strong enough, you can get it. However, Big Eyes obviously didn't know the internal situation of this temple of the goddess of death. Qin Feng had learned about the racial talent of the Eye of Knowledge before. This race, the knowledge gained is shared among all individuals. As for the temple of the goddess of death, all this group can know is that some players who entered it got death feathers after coming out, while others did not. This gave them the illusion of probability of obtaining. In fact, this is a ranking challenge activity based on strength. However, this ranking is not limited to the players of this civilization, but among all civilizations. In the past 100 years, challengers who have come to the Temple of the Goddess of Death, as long as they are in the top 100, their scores will be recorded in the Grey Giant Tree, on the tree trunk. However, the white-haired old woman obviously didn't know that Qin Feng's current attainment in the ancient language of the gods was enough to fully understand the challenge rankings recorded on the tree trunk. Those rankings were all recorded in the ancient language of the gods, and they were all false. The first place was a female assassin player from the Yulan civilization, level 58, and the challenge result was that she killed 17 dead country monsters in a row within 20 minutes. The second place was a male berserker player from the War civilization, level 67, and the challenge result was that he killed 14 dead country monsters in a row. In this regard, Qin Feng could only say, they are all weak. These people are at a high level, all over level 50, which is higher than the level of my previous life for 9 years. But in similar challenges, the monsters we face are all of the same level as us. I came here at level 30, and I faced level 30 monsters. For me, isn't it a gift? It's tailor-made. It's just a diamond level monster. Even if it's a diamond level boss that will become stronger and stronger, Qin Feng can kill it continuously. How many can be killed in the 20-minute time limit? Even Qin Feng doesn't know where his limit is. At this time, after the white-haired old woman finished her explanation, she showed a somewhat creepy smile and looked at Qin Feng. Player Shadow of the Blue Star Civilization, your level is not high, and it is not easy to enter the temple, as long as you can make the list. I can personally give you a Deathwing Feather reward. Qin Feng was silent for a moment. The old housekeeper of the Temple of the Goddess of Death didn't seem to realize what happened. If Qin Feng didn't take the Deathwing Royal Feather from this temple this time, he would feel that he had come here in vain. And for Qin Feng, the most tempting thing is, these dead country monsters will not provide experience and loot, so are there evolution points? If there are evolution points, can't I grab them hard this time? Whether or not he can get evolution points, he will know in a while. Qin Feng was about to start the challenge, but suddenly, he saw a line of words on the trunk of the Grey Giant Tree in the ranking, which was very blurry. Originally, Qin Feng was too lazy to look at the 100 rankings one by one, but he took a rough look. As a result, he saw that in the third to last row, which was the 98th place, the ancient divine language was blurry. Qin Feng couldn't tell who was recorded in this line, or what civilization they came from. He could only see that the record in this line was that he killed 7 dead country monsters in 20 minutes, ranked 98th, and the reward was a Deathwing Feather, plus a mythical divine weapon. Wait, who is the 98th? Qin Feng pointed at the tree trunk and asked the white-haired old woman. The white-haired old woman glanced at the tree trunk, then looked at him and laughed dryly. Don't ask questions that you shouldn't ask. Qin Feng stared at the blurred symbols for a few seconds, then pretended not to care and looked away. But in fact, a guess has emerged in Qin Feng's mind. This guess made it difficult for Qin Feng to remain calm. The reason why I know the bloodline of the Deathwing Angel is because of Tang Jun in the previous life. Tang Jun, a native of Daxia Kyoto, is one of the strongest players in Daxia and one of the players who went to the Land of Order later. He obtained the bloodline of the Deathwing Angel when he went to Faeguo once at level 45. At that time, the desolation was spreading again, and many areas in Faeguo became exhausted areas with a lifespan flow rate of 100,000 times. In the exhaustion area, every day will consume 274 years of life. In that wave, millions of people in Faeguo died, and after returning from Faeguo, Tang Jun also gained a key divine weapon, which allowed him to rush directly into the top 3 in the world on the Abyss Road. Qin Feng didn't know the specific details, but judging from these situations alone, it is very likely that Tang Jun entered the Temple of Faith of the Goddess of Death once when he was in Faeguo, and it was in the challenge that he ranked 98th and got a Deathwing Feather, plus a divine weapon. The guess is reasonable, but it may not be accurate. More importantly, this is what happened in Qin Feng's previous life. If this blurred ranking is really Tang Jun, then the situation is a bit complicated. Qin Feng frowned secretly. The situation is a bit messy, and Qin Feng is not sure that the 98th ranking is Tang Jun. After all, there is too little information, and there are many such coincidences. But why should this line of information be blurred? It is precisely because the player information in that column is blurred that Qin Feng feels that there may be a problem. But speaking of it, Tang Jun's profession is the only hidden glacier mage. It has been more than a month since I was reborn, and I don't seem to have heard of any information about this person. Wait back and ask him about the situation. In the previous life, this Tang Jun was definitely a celebrity in Daxia, and he shouldn't be so silent. Yinfeng temporarily put this matter behind his mind and wait to ask about the situation. The most important thing now is to participate in the challenge of this temple. I confirm my participation in the challenge. Yinfeng chose to confirm. Then he saw the figure of the white-haired old woman beside him slowly dissipate. The gray sun in the sky still exists, and the area illuminated by the gray-white light becomes wider and wider. Spreading to the surroundings, what appeared in front of Qinfeng is a garden-like scene. The gray giant tree is hundreds of meters high, and there is no leaf on the trunk at all dead branches. Soon, when the system countdown ended, a 20-minute countdown appeared in Qinfeng's field of vision. At the same time, a trunk of the gray giant tree in front of him moved over, and the trunk began to twist and expand, gradually forming a rotten humanoid monster. When the humanoid monster was fully formed, it fell off the trunk directly. Death Country Monster Rotten Gardesi, level 30. Grade: Diamond level boss. When this rotten humanoid boss fell off and landed in front of Qinfeng, a dark mist suddenly spread towards Qinfeng. This dark mist contained the energy of the instant death of Fix. But before the mist enveloped Qinfeng, Yinfeng directly merged into the darkness and fell into the invisible state. He first used a Shadow Fold to double his basic attack power, and then instantly used a Thief's Hand, plus 1,000 blades to break. 60. 1 weak point attack. Plus 59. 7 weak point attack. 61. 4D weak point attack. A series of 84 damages in total. Burst out instantly from the top of the boss. Directly cleared its health bar of more than 40 million. This boss was killed instantly by Qinfeng's 1,000 blade, breaking more than 80 times after it appeared for less than a second. Congratulations on getting 200 evolution points. The system prompt made Qinfeng's eyes light up. There are really evolution points. I'm rich now. Qinfeng didn't think twice and used Greedy Hand directly on the corpse. Congratulations on getting 200 evolution points, sick. Meta. Here comes the evolution points. Directly got 1,200 evolution. Evolution points. And the most important thing is, when Qinfeng killed the diamond level boss in front of him, a brand new diamond level boss began to condense on the trunk of the gray giant tree in front of him. This diamond level boss has a buff state, and its health, attack power, defense, and skill cooling speed are all increased by 100%. The original 42 million health points were increased to 84 million at once. If the health is increased by 40 million every time, it will be really difficult to kill later. No wonder so many top powerhouses of civilizations can only kill more than 10 bosses in this challenge in the past 100 years. Yinfeng saw it, but didn't care too much. His current highest damage can instantly burst out more than 500 million when fighting an epic boss. And this is still an epic boss. If it is a diamond level boss, its defense increase is useless. After all, Yinfeng ignores defense 100% if the health is increased alone. Its damage reduction attribute is always only about 80%. It is much worse than the 90%, 95% of the epic boss. In other words, the damage Qinfeng dealt to the diamond boss is 3 to 5 times more than that to the epic boss. In addition, these bosses are getting stronger and stronger, and their attributes are getting higher and higher. The stolen attributes of Qinfeng's Snatching Hand without cooling will also be higher, allowing him to output higher. It's too reasonable to use the Snatching Hand without cooling at this time. The only uncomfortable thing is that this gray giant tree takes 7 or 8 seconds to produce a diamond boss. It has to be said that the time it takes for this boss to spawn has greatly slowed down Qinfeng's efficiency in killing bosses. But it's okay. In short, the next 20 minutes is the time for Qinfeng to plunder evolution points. The white-haired old woman who had hidden outside the battle area was stunned when she saw Qinfeng kill the first diamond boss in seconds. The white-haired old woman was stunned. Originally, she thought that it was already a stroke of luck for a Blue Star Civilization player who was only level 30 to enter the temple. Players at this level had no order and no divine weapons, so it was very difficult to fight a diamond boss alone. Because of this, in order to prevent Qinfeng from backing out, she proposed to give Qinfeng an extra Deathwing feather if he ranked higher. Unexpectedly, the assassin killed the first boss instantly, but the white-haired old woman didn't expect what happened next was the most difficult for her to understand. Kill a diamond level boss instantly. Isn't it enough to have hands? When the enhanced diamond level bosses were condensed and generated, even if their health was doubled, tripled, quadrupled, they were still killed instantly by Qinfeng. The white-haired old woman's eyes widened. From the perspective of this white-haired old woman, it is natural to see Qinfeng in stealth mode, and she can also see the release of Qinfeng's skills. After all, her identity is the housekeeper of the ancient god temple, so her ability must be extraordinary. Even if she is not as good as a Shastas, she must have no problem seeing through Qinfeng's stealth. In her field of vision, when the diamond level boss Dead Country monsters were just generated, and even before they fell to the ground, Yinfeng had already raised his hand to attack. Just raise your hand and use the 1,000 blades break to kill the boss instantly. A level 30 diamond boss has a basic health of more than 40 million. One skill bursts out more than 400,000, and looking at the number of attacks of his 1,000 blades break. His agility is 4, goes into 5,000. How is this possible? The white-haired old woman looked like she had seen a ghost. For a level 30 player, a normal assassin mainly stacks agility, and having 700 to 800 is already already high. Even if he was wearing epic and legendary equipment, it would only be over 1,000 at most, with an agility of 4 or 5,000 and 1,000 blades breaking more than 80 times. It was beyond the imagination of the white-haired old woman. At the level of the white-haired old woman, she could easily calculate how high Qin Feng's current damage bonus was. She had seen such a high damage bonus before, but it would never appear on a level 30 player. Interesting. It seems that I underestimated this blue star player. The white-haired old woman smiled. Not only is the damage high, but the skill cools down very quickly, and it can completely deal with every generated diamond boss. I wonder where your damage limit is. Now, Qin Feng has only killed 5 diamond bosses in a row. At most, he used the gift of liberation, the 1,000 blades breaking and the instant destruction, which caused a damage of 400 or 500 million in the eyes of the white-haired old woman. After the 10th boss, this little guy of the Blue Star Civilization may soon be unable to kill the boss, and Qin Feng was dealing with the diamond boss that appeared in front of him with ease and joy. Every time he killed a target, he could get 1,200 or 1,400 evolution points. My Shadow Blade can steal the target's buff status, but the amplification status on these bosses cannot be stolen or even dispelled. Qin Feng felt a little sorry, but he knew that this amplification status was not the ability of the boss itself. It came from the ancient god, or the ability of the ancient god's butler. It was given by the white-haired old woman, so it was normal that Qin Feng's mythical level Shadow Blade skill could not transfer the buff to himself. The 6th diamond boss, sure enough, the HP is 248 million. Keep killing it. At this point, Qin Feng could not kill it with just one skill, and still had to rely on the gift of liberation, followed by 1,000 blades and instant annihilation to kill it. But under his Sword of the Robber, he can steal 20% of the boss's total attributes every time. Although it cannot be stacked, the highest value will be taken. This makes Qin Feng's agility attribute slowly reach the level of 5,000 points. This makes his attack speed and skill release speed all reach an extremely fast level, counting the 72% skill release speed bonus of the new legendary ring. Qin Feng's set of skills can be released in 2 seconds at most. However, what surprised Qin Feng a little was that the gray giant tree in front of him seemed to have intelligence. When Qin Feng kept killing the diamond boss, it brought out. The next boss subconsciously wanted to dodge when it was just generated. Moreover, the boss generated by the giant tree also began to have some targeted affixes and passive attributes. For example, it has an 80% to 90% dodge rate. Let Qin Feng's attacks be dodged. Another example. When landing, he would use a shadow clone skill, and 4 or 5 bosses would appear, so that Qin Feng's 1,000 blade break could not cover all targets at the same time. Another example. Newly formed diamond bosses basically release range attack skills to try to kill Qin Feng, or he would move quickly after landing, trying to avoid Qin Feng's 1,000 blade break. 1,000 blade break is Qin Feng's main output skill at present. Since the attack distance is relatively short, it is not difficult to dodge as long as the speed is fast enough. Even if Qin Feng has the legendary ring elemental explosion power, the skill range is increased by 190%, and 1,000 blade break can only change from attacking a range of 1 meter to attacking a range of 299 meters. Fortunately, Qin Feng's speed is fast enough, and he can accurately identify the target's movement trajectory and release the skill accurately, and he can still kill instantly. This depends on the combat habits and experience Qin Feng has developed over a long period of time. If someone else comes, even if they have the same attributes and skills as him, they can't be as smooth as him. As for other affixes such as dodge, the total is just to allow the boss to survive for 1 or 2 seconds longer under Qin Feng's hands. So, the 9th one, the 10th one, the 11th one. When the boss's health value reaches about 400 million or 500 million, Qin Feng can no longer kill the boss in seconds with this set of skills alone. Just when the white-haired old woman thought Qin Feng had reached his limit, suddenly, Shadow of Death, Qin Feng directly created shadow clones around. Swish. Gift of Liberation plus 1,000 Blades Break plus Instant Destruction. The 12th diamond boss was killed again, and its health value exceeded 500 million, but in front of Qin Feng, it still could not survive for more than 2 seconds. Shadow. How is it possible to create so many shadows? The white-haired old woman was shocked again. A normal Shadow of Sorrow only has 1 shadow. But now, Qin Feng's Shadow of Sorrow actually has 5 shadows, and counting his own damage. It is 6 times the damage. The most terrifying thing is a normal Shadow of Sorrow cannot move. And for the boss, a little bit of intelligence can easily avoid its attack range. But now, Qin Feng's invisible shadow clones can actually move with him. And this is naturally because Qin Feng just killed more than 10 diamond bosses and has gained more than 10,000 evolution points in one wave. He directly consumed 5,000 points to evolve the skill of Shadow of Sorrow from the mythical level to the ancient level. Shadow of Sorrow mythical level, ancient level. Assassin skill. Create a shadow clone, lasting 7 to 10 seconds. When the shadow clone exists, it will release the same skill as the main body, causing 100% damage, cooldown 48-34, 87 seconds. Required level, 30. New effect of the ancient level can create 5 shadow clones at the same time, and the shadow clones can move with the body. Although the cooldown time of this skill is lower than the duration after the ancient level, but it is obvious that if the skill is released again during the duration of the shadow, the new shadow clone will replace the old one. So it will not cause Qinfeng to create more than 5 shadow clones. It's a pity that I can't create dozens of shadow clones. However, the shadow clones of the ancient level severe shadow can move, which solves the biggest disadvantage of this skill.